Hello. It's good to see you. Today we're going to be talking about being funny. Somebody asked me to do a ramble video about being funny. They wanted to know how can I be, how does one become funny, or how can I be funny, or something like that. So I wanted to talk about that. But first, I have to tell you a little administrative thing. I have to tell you this because this was kind of weird. I just noticed this tonight. Okay, several days ago, I submitted a request to join a group on Facebook. And it was this group that everybody kept saying, oh, you've got to join this group. I mean, if anybody needs to be in it, it's you. Aldi Nerds. If you've heard of that, Aldi Nerds. Well, I submitted, you have to fill out a little questionnaire in order to request to join the group. And I did that. Now, this was 2 or 3 days ago. And just out of curiosity, I went to the page to check to see if I had been added to the group. I hadn't received any notifications about anything. Well, I went on there, and it was like my application was never submitted. So I know it went through. It said it was my request was pending. The status was pending. But now it's like I never submitted a request at all. So either there was a hiccup and my request it just disappeared, or they rejected my request. I think I may have been denied access to the Aldi Nerds group, and I don't know how to feel about that. That's kind of weird. I mean, I answered all the questions. It's not hard. It's not like it's not like the SAT or anything like that. But I answered everything, and now it's giving me the option now to resubmit. I can submit another request if I want to. Only now I don't think I want to. I think I'll just remain like a free range Aldi nerd. I guess I don't really need their group. Although I thought it would be kind of interesting to see what other people have to say about Aldi. I don't think I'm a terrible person or anything. I don't know why they wouldn't let me join. So I started to submit another one, but now I don't know if I should. I'm torn, and I realize this is a petty thing to even give thought to, but it's just kind of weird. Every group I've ever requested to join, I've been allowed to join, so I don't get it. Although I have to read the group rules, and you have to agree to these group rules. You have to take a little quiz, and in order to take the Aldi Nerds quiz, you have to read the rules, or you won't know the answers. The first question is, did you read the rules? And you have to check yes or no. If you check no, then it gives you the option to automatically submit. Well, I checked yes. And then it asks you what term is banned. There's one term that is banned in Aldi Nerds, and you won't know that if you don't read the thing. Did you answer question 2? Yes or no? And it says you can choose multiple options. Well, I chose yes because I did answer question 2. And then you have to check the box saying you agree to the group rules, and I did that as well. I kind of like their rules, though. I want to read these to you. They're really short. Rule number 1 is no politics. We don't care. You'll get the yeet. Rule number 2, it's a Karen-free zone. Karen memes, Karen complaints, Karen jokes. Even the mention of the word Karen is strictly forbidden. It's overused and stale. Automatic banning. I like that. Report to admin. Please report problems to admin instead of reporting to Facebook. Only report rules being broken. Do not report something just because you don't like it or don't agree with it. I like that too. No promotions or spam. Give more than you take to this group. Self-promotion, spam, and irrelevant links aren't allowed. And the final rule is keep it Aldi related. No hot takes on the state of their group or some posts drama. I like their rules. I'm reading these rules like, I think this sounds fine with me. So I did all that, and I submitted my little question. Of course, the banned term is Karen, which I guess if your name is Karen, that could get kind of weird. Or if you're talking about somebody named Karen in an Aldi-related post, I guess you'd have to change their name to something else. I don't know. Anyway, I submitted my request, and I think it either just completely disappeared and they never saw it, which I've never had happen before, or they denied it for some reason. It's really weird. But I think for now I'm just not going to worry about it. Like, I've lived this long without being an official Aldi nerd, so I think I'll be fine. Speaking of which, being the Aldi nerd that I am, I have to tell you this. We have not looked at this Aldi sneak peek. I'm getting to being funny in a minute. This is not part of it. This is totally unrelated. I just had to tell somebody. I think I was denied entry into an Aldi Nerds group. Me of all people. How can I not be in there? I don't know how to feel about it. I wanted to tell you about this because, okay, this is the sneak peek for this week, and it starts on Wednesday. There are 2 things in here I wanted to tell you about. The first thing is the blanket ladder. This is a super popular item that they don't have very often. They're going to have them this Wednesday. Now, you have to get it around here anyway. If you want that blanket ladder, for some reason around here, they're insanely popular. You have to get in there that morning if you want one. I don't get it. It's just a flimsy little ladder that holds blankets. I mean, you could go to Lowe's and get the stuff to make this. It wouldn't take you an hour. I don't get it. It's $40. Anyway, they go as soon as they're put out here. So if you want a blanket ladder, they're coming on Wednesday. You get there right when they open. But the other thing is this right here, and I'm going to try to get one of these. They have the crane adjustable dumbbells. Now, I don't know what the weights are, but it looks like you have at least 4 adjustments on these dumbbells, and they're $49.99. And I've been trying to find some of these, and I cannot find them anywhere around here. So I'm going to try to get some of these crane adjustable dumbbells. I'm thinking that's another thing that's going to go really super fast. That is something you never see at Aldi. So that's coming on Wednesday, and they also have a slam ball. You can get a 15 or a 20 pound slam ball for $19.99. That's another thing that I bet will go pretty fast. I'm going to try to get those adjustable dumbbells. So that's totally unrelated. I just had to tell you, I think I was denied entry into an Aldi Nerds group. And it's funny because there's an employee at Aldi that has asked me numerous times, are you a member of the Aldi Nerds group? You really should be. I think you would really, really fit in with those folks. They're very serious about Aldi. And I know how much you like coming here. I said, well, maybe later. So then I finally tried to, get in there, and I can't even get in. I don't know. I'm just such a wild and crazy person. I guess they don't want me there. Okay, being funny. Somebody wanted me to talk about how can I be funny? Or I can't remember how it was worded. Honestly, this is kind of an old request, and I'm just now getting to it. Sorry, I don't even remember who made it. I had it written down on a notepad. Honestly, my opinion about being funny is that either you are or you aren't. I don't really think it's something that you can learn to do. I think it's instinctual. I think it's just part of the way you look at the world and the way your brain is wired. And some people just aren't funny. I mean, I hate to say it. Of course, humor, funny is subjective. I mean, something that I think is really funny, you may think is stupid, or vice versa. There are different kinds of funny. There are different kinds of humor. There's physical comedy, which I think you have to have a knack for. Like Steve Martin if you've ever seen some of the stuff he did on Saturday Night Live, back in the 70s and stuff, it's unbelievable. Peter Sellers was another really amazing physical comedian. Charlie Chaplin. I mean, there have been a lot of them, but those are the ones that just come to my mind, who can use their body to, create a funny scene. It's visual humor. They've always fascinated me how you have to be really fit to do some of the stuff they did. Especially Steve Martin. Like if you ever saw the movie All of Me, it's funny. I like that movie. But yeah, so there are different kinds of humor. But I think in order to be funny, I think there's a lot of tragedy behind humor. I think the way I look at it, It's like when you go through really bad times, I think it changes the way you look at the world. It changes the way you look at yourself. And it can give you sort of a distorted view, not distorted, but just a different view of reality. And somehow out of that is born humor. I think sometimes you learn to laugh when you don't really have any other choice. Like it's either that or I'm going to cry forever. I think about, Robin Williams was just incredibly gifted, but he had, if you know anything about his childhood, he had a really rough childhood, and he would try to make his mother laugh. I don't remember. I don't know if she had depression or if she was dealing with an illness, but he would try to make her laugh to try to make her feel better. And I think he spent his whole life trying to do that. But he went through a lot. And I think for some people that's where the humor comes from. It's from struggle, it's from bad times. I think for some people it gives you a palette. You have all these paints on your palette from your past experiences, and you can take those and create new things. You paint from your palette of experiences and pain from the past. I think a lot of actors have the same thing. They become good actors, and what they draw on a lot of times is stuff from their past. It can come back and you can make something beautiful out of it or something funny. And I'm not saying that people that haven't been through anything can't be funny and they can't be good actors, because I'm sure they can. But for some people, I think it gives them, it's like a superpower almost that you might not have had otherwise. I don't really consider myself, I don't consider myself funny. I think I look at things kind of weird. I don't know why. I always have. I've spent most of my life being quiet. And if you know me outside of YouTube, you are probably nodding vigorously right now. You probably never heard me talk so much. I've always been very quiet around other people, and I prefer to just sit and watch people, and I love to listen to conversations. And you can learn a lot just by listening to people. And my mind I always have this running commentary in my mind all the time. It's just based on what I'm watching, and it's sometimes it's kind of funny, and I have to remember other people are not aware of that, and sometimes I will just have a thought about something going on and it makes me chuckle, and usually I can keep it to myself. But I remember in the 10th grade, I was taking this computer class, and I was sitting, we didn't choose our seats, but I was sitting in the very back row with this other girl, and we'll call her Tanya. And we're sitting back there, and Tanya and I didn't really get along before this class. She never liked me, and I didn't know why. She just, I don't know, she didn't like me. But anyway, we were put together. We had to sit back there together. And it was kind of good, though, because we actually got to talk to one another. And, whatever was going on, for whatever reason, it seemed to kind of smooth out after a couple of months of sitting together back there, and we would actually just start talking, and it was nice, because I thought she was kind of a jerk before that. But if I were to see her today, I would happily talk to her now. I wouldn't just walk away because of that class. But so the teacher would be up front explaining whatever, and sometimes I would just say whatever the commentary was running through my mind. I would just say it to Tanya. I would just whisper it to her. And sometimes Tanya would just bust out laughing. She would just die out laughing back there, and the teacher would call her out, and you can get in trouble for that. You get demerits or whatever. I got her in trouble several times. And finally, one day, the teacher figured out what was going on, and she said it. She said, "This whole time, I have been punishing Tanya back here for disrupting the class. And I just now figured out it's actually Mary. She's back there making her laugh. I didn't even know Mary could talk." I was embarrassed. Everybody's looking at me, and I'm just like, stop looking at me, for God's sake. I didn't mean to get her in trouble. I just got comfortable talking to her, so I would just say whatever came to mind. I got her in trouble several times, but after that, we would both get a demerit. So I had to cool it. I had to stop saying things. But yeah, that oh my gosh, that was so long ago. Some people some people just aren't funny, like I said. And they try really hard. I don't think it's something that you can learn. But you can certainly try. When I was little, gosh, when I was little, okay, I have an older brother. He's 4 years older. So he was to me, he was always one of the big kids, because, when you're young, 4 years is a huge difference. I mean, wow. If you're 8 and he's 12, he's one of the big kids, Oh my goodness. And my brother has always been this kind of, quiet, bookish sort. Very, very smart. Insanely smart. And he loved to play Dungeons and Dragons. Now let's see. He started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I guess I was about 10 or so. Well, I guess I was around 10 when he started to play Dungeons and Dragons. So he would have been 14. And he had 3 friends. They were all in the same grade. These 3 guys would come over. And I was just in awe. Now, we lived in the middle of nowhere. We had no neighbors. We were literally the only house on the entire road. This road was 2 miles long. We were the only house on this whole road. I had no one to play with. There were no kids anywhere. It was just us in the middle of nowhere. And I think that was another thing that helped me. I'll talk about that in a minute. So it was a big deal because sometimes all the kids or some of his friends or all of his friends, they would all come over for the weekend and they'd play Dungeons and Dragons all weekend. And they would clear off the kitchen table and they'd be in there at the table and they were playing. And I desperately wanted to be part of it. I so wanted the big kids to accept me. I wanted them to let me hang out with them. It's not like I had anything else to do. I mean, this was the 80s. There was no internet. There were no smartphones. We didn't have cable. We picked up like 3 channels. There was nobody to play with, nothing to do. I wanted to be part of this group so bad. So I thought the way to do it at first was to learn to play Dungeons and Dragons. Well, it took me about 5 minutes to figure out that it's super complicated, and I got bored within like 2 seconds, and I didn't want to do it. It didn't interest me. It's very complicated. I did like the little colorful die, the multi-sided die they have, plural die. I loved those. I liked to just hold the dice in my hand and and they had all the little numbers on them, and then they get mad at me because they were afraid I'd take it and they wouldn't have it when they needed it. And they had these little plastic swords, and I didn't know what was going on. It was like a foreign language. They would play long into the night, just hours and hours. They would play this game all weekend, and then they'd fall asleep on the living room floor, and they'd get up next morning and play some more. So I discovered pretty quickly that the game was complicated yet boring, and I didn't want any part of it. So I never played because I didn't know what the heck they were doing. So I decided the way to become part of the gang was to be funny. And I thought maybe if I can make them laugh, they'll let me stay. Yeah, and so I would just kind of hang out in the background, and I'm listening to the conversation, and I would try to interject. Like, if I could just say something funny and make them laugh, maybe they'll let me sit down at the table and just hang out with them, So I would try, and I would just wait for a chance to jump in with something funny, Of course, most of what they were saying made no sense because they were playing that game. And I'm just waiting, and then I would launch my joke and see, send it up the flagpole, see if anybody salutes it. And if it wasn't funny, they wouldn't laugh. They would not humor me. They didn't want me there. I was the annoying little sister. They wanted me to go away. Like I was messing with them. I was annoying. And I was. I'll admit, I was annoying. I was bored. I didn't have anybody to play with. So I would wait and see, oh, here comes my joke. And if it landed with the thud, they would all just look at me and go, anyway, and eventually, if I landed too many, it wouldn't take long. And my brother, if I landed too many duds, my brother would go, Mom, will you please tell her to go away? And it was like being up on stage and getting the hook, because that meant it was time to go, and my mom would shoo me away and I wouldn't be allowed to mess with them anymore for a while. And I had to go back outside and play by myself or go fishing or whatever, but I was not allowed to mess with them. But I will tell you, oh my goodness, if I ever managed to say something and they laughed, it was like 10 Christmases all rolled up into one. It was the best feeling in the world to know that I had come up with something funny and I made them laugh. Because if they laughed, it was genuine. They would not laugh if it wasn't funny. And when you got a really good one in and you made them laugh, oh man, that was the best feeling in the world. And after a while, it got to where I just wanted to see if I could do it. I didn't even care about joining in anymore and hanging out. I just wanted to see if I could get them to laugh. If I could say anything that they thought was funny. Because again, you got to remember, they were the big kids. You know, and if you can impress the big kids and make them laugh, that is something. I mean, it was a table full of nerds, but I mean, I didn't see it that way. They might have been a table full of nerds, but they were older than me. They were older, old nerds, you know, all of 14. And gosh, if I could make them laugh, that was like winning the Super Bowl. I mean, it was just, yes. And it just, I still remember to this day the elation I felt if I could come up with an observation or something to add to the conversation that made them laugh. Oh, that was the best thing ever. I have never forgotten how that felt. Yeah, and I think that as minor as that may sound, I think that had a lot to do with the development of my sense of humor as I got older. I really think it affected me. Yeah, and everybody in my family has a pretty dry sense of humor. You know, the ones that do have a sense of humor, although I'm not naming names, but I have this one relative that just can't land a joke to save his life, and bless his heart, he tries. He's one of those people, you probably got one of these relatives, you know, everything you post on Facebook, they have to comment on it. You know, like if I posted a picture, a funny meme of a dog, you know, he would say something like, well, that's a doggone cute picture of a dog that's there, doggone it. And then a little laughy face emoji. That's about as funny as they get. And they comment on literally everything you post. Anyway, this is a ramble. So I spent most of my childhood playing by myself in the middle of nowhere. We were surrounded by forest. You know, it's just because we owned about 7 acres of land that my parents bought from my mom's parents. And so, but everything around that was owned by a lumber company. Just forest everywhere. And I spent a lot of time playing outside by myself because I love to be outside. My brother was more of an indoor kid. He didn't really like going outside. In fact, that's how my mother would punish us. If I got in trouble, she made me come in. If my brother got in trouble, he had to go out. That's because we hated that. But I spent a lot of time playing with my toys out in the dirt. There was this one big dogwood tree beside our house, and the roots were above ground. And I had these little plastic horses and little toys, and I would take them out, and I would just make like a little ranch out there, you know, and I would make a little house out of sticks and leaves, and there'd be whole story arcs to these toys, and I'd play all afternoon out there. And sometimes the dialogue between the toys I thought was pretty funny, at least for my age. I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, and I think that had a lot to do with it. And it also, I think, spending all those hours and hours out there playing helped me learn how to tell stories, you know, because like I say, I would be out there all afternoon, and I would have my toys, and I would just, in my mind, it's like I would just write this whole scenario for them, and then just have this whole story play out with the little toys, and it would be complicated. Like, it would go on for a half hour. It was really complex. And then later I got into writing short stories, poems. I've written hundreds of poems and short stories, tons of them. Not really recently, but when I was younger, I wrote a ton of stuff like that. You know, I love to write. I love to create. And I think a lot of my humor, such as it is, came from a lot of those experiences. I think I still believe that kids who are allowed to play freely with unstructured playtime develop more of an imagination than kids whose every waking moment is structured. I don't think that's a good thing. I think kids need downtime on a regular basis where they can just be. They can just play whatever, not in front of a screen, not in a class, like a dance class or whatever. I'm talking about just time at home, unstructured. And I had a lot of that because my parents were always busy. We had no neighbors, we had nobody, and my brother was usually inside doing something. And I hated being stuck in the house. I wanted to go out. So I had tons and tons of time by myself to do whatever. I mean, nobody was keeping tabs on me. As long as I was home by dark, it was fine. I'd wander out into the woods. There was this creek, and I would follow the creek way off into the woods. And I'd go so far away, even if my mom had called me, I wouldn't be able to hear. I was so far off. I was never scared. I mean, I knew to look out for snakes and things, and I never got hurt, seriously. I never got bitten by anything. I was fine. Those were good days. At the time, I hated the fact that I didn't have really anybody to play with. But looking back, I actually had a pretty cool childhood in some respects. I got to do a lot of things that most kids never get to do. And this all has to do with humor. I know I'm talking about all kinds of stuff, but I got to do a lot of neat things and spend a lot of time in solitude as a kid. And it changed the way I think. It changed the way I create. I wrote 2 books. I wrote one in my early 20s, one in my mid 20s. And then I wrote another one in my late 20s. And I'm writing one now. And all of that is cumulative. It's cumulative. You are what you are as a result of everything that came up to this point in your life. And what you be going forward will be a result of everything that comes from here on out. I think humor has a lot to do with observation. I think it has a lot to do with the way your brain is wired. I think some people are very observant people have the potential to be very funny because they notice things about human nature, they notice things about human interaction, they notice things around them that nobody else may see, and they notice interesting things about the things around them. And sometimes the things they notice are funny. And I try to do that. And sometimes it happens without me even trying, because it's like my mind is a 3-ring circus. There's always something going on in there all the time. It never stops. There's always something just cooking in there all the time. I couldn't turn it off if I wanted to. It's always generating something. I'm generating something at this point I can't even tell you about. But it's always working on stuff. And some of the stuff that comes out is kind of funny. I think it's kind of funny. I mean, some people may roll their eyes at it, but that's fine. I mean, there's some stuff that people think is funny that I think is just stupid, but that's just me. Everybody has a different sense of humor as far as whatever they find funny. There are some things that I don't get at all, but anyway. I was going somewhere with that, but I forgot what I remember one thing that really fascinated me when I was younger. And that was Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live. I remember being captivated by him because I remember watching him do the craziest, funniest stuff. If you've never seen some of the Eddie Murphy clips of him when he was on Saturday Night Live, like I guess it was back in the late 70s, early 80s, oh my God, I was amazed. I would sit there watching and it was hilarious. And the thing I couldn't figure out was, how is he keeping a straight face? How is he not laughing? I remember this one time, they have like that news, that skit where they do the news. And he was sitting there, and I don't remember what he was talking about. But he had a straight face the entire time. He never cracked a smile. And he said something wrong. He screwed something up. And without missing a beat, he just looked right at the camera and he said, "So I messed up. Shut up." And he just went right back to whatever he was saying. And he did not break stride. He didn't laugh. And I was amazed. Like, how does he do that? How does he do that? I could not do that. There's no way I would bust out laughing. But I learned something since I started doing role plays that I never knew. And for me, anyway, if I'm doing a character, the role plays I do, there's no script. I just make it up. I'll just sit down here with the paper or something. I'll just pick up literally a lot of these videos. I just grab random things on the way to my room to make the video. I'll just see something. Oh, knick-knack. Here's a knick-knack. Here's a spoon. Here's this. We'll work all this in there. And I will bring it all in here and find a way to work it in. I never know what I'm going to say. I never know how it's going to go. I have no idea. And most of them, when I get done, I feel like it wasn't any good. It's like, oh, God. Some of them I almost didn't post because I thought they were bad. Like, that was awful. Some people like them. But I've discovered something, for me anyway. Like if I'm Harvest or Carl or whoever, when I'm talking to you, whatever ridiculous stuff is coming out of my mouth, it's not funny because that's what that person would say. I mean, they're being dead serious, so why would you even laugh? I don't have any problem not laughing most of the time. Every now and then something will come out and I will struggle a little bit. I think there's only been one time that I lost it, and it's on one of the blooper videos where Harvest, I don't even remember what she was talking about. And like I say, I don't write this stuff in advance. I just make it up as I go. She said something like, every now and then we have to put unpleasant things in our mouth. And I lost it at that. I think that's the only time that's happened, and that was a while ago. I think that was the only time I could not hold it together. I think in the first video I did of Carl, there was something he was talking about that I just about did. But you just have to remind yourself, take a little breath and go, this is not you talking. It's Carl talking. Let him talk. Let him say whatever he's going to say. There's nothing funny about that. You don't need to laugh. It's not funny. He's being serious. Quit laughing. This is no laughing matter. And then I'm fine. But I also find it helps if before I start the video, I take a good look at myself on the monitor, whatever, if I'm dressed like Carl, and I just go ahead and laugh if I need to and just get it out of my system. I have a lot of fun making those videos. They are so much fun. But how can you be funny? How can I don't know. Go through rough things. Be more observant. Listen to people. Zip it for a bit and just watch and listen. Observe people. Don't try too hard. Don't force it. If you try to force it, it's not going to work. Some people, like I tell you, one of the instructors for the outdoor exercise class I go to, I'm telling you, she is one of the most naturally funny people I think I have ever encountered in my life. I cannot tell you that. And she just I don't know what, she's very observant, I think was what it is. We'll be in the middle of an exercise and she will just say something either about the exercise or whatever song is playing, because we listen to music while we work out. And she picks these faster, like good music to work out to. And she'll say something about, this singer. And she'll just come up with something funny about the person. And I cannot tell you the times I have been right in the middle of an exercise and just busted out laughing because of something she said. And it makes the class a lot more enjoyable. She's way funnier than me. She needs her own channel for real. She's funny. She's hilarious. I thoroughly enjoy her class. She is naturally funny. She's not trying. She's not putting any effort into it. She's not exerting herself to be funny. She didn't study to become that way. She just is. And some people just are. I don't really know what I can tell you beyond this rambling thing that I've done here. But if you're not funny, all I can really tell you is just appreciate people who are, and don't comment on everybody's Facebook post trying to be funny. Don't force it. It becomes uncomfortable for everybody. Not everybody's funny. As long as you can appreciate humor, don't get upset about everything everybody says. Don't be that person. Don't be a wet blanket. Just let it flow. Let it be. I'm grateful for funny people. I am so grateful for funny people. Especially when you're going through rough times. And I think this last year has been rough for everybody in one way or another. It really makes you appreciate little things like having a laugh with somebody, little things that you might not have appreciated so much before, but you do now. I know I do. Yeah, I enjoy a good laugh. So, and I also think for me, making role play videos of characters, I think it's a good brain exercise because I have to, I think in a way it almost uses different parts of your brain or something than just being normal. I don't like being normal anyway. Yeah, it's a good thing. I think laughter is a wonderful thing. It's really good for your health to laugh every now and then. Have just, one of those really good laughs, like you can't even breathe, you're laughing so hard. Oh, those are great. I always feel so good after that. You have something you just laugh. And that makes me feel, it lifts my mood for the rest of the day. I feel better. I feel brighter and happier after that. And it's free, you can laugh for free, so that's a good thing too. But, if you can't be funny, don't worry about it. I don't know. Sometimes I wish I could be. I don't know. I don't really consider myself funny. I just tell you what I see. A lot of times I just tell you what I observe. If I'm being a character, I basically just shut up and let them talk for 45 minutes. And afterwards, I don't even remember what they said half the time. It's almost like you're in a trance because people will ask. And I have to remember, later. I have to go back and I have to rewatch the video because I can't remember what all I've said in the last video. If I'm being Lynette, I don't know what she talked about last time. And sometimes I end up contradicting myself and people point it out. But shoot, I don't know. I might have forgotten that. Because it's like I'm just letting them talk and I don't know what they're going to say. And I'm not really listening. I'm just off doing something else while they talk. And I don't remember. So I guess overall, I would say at least a time or two. Some glorious moments. My brother and his friends thought I was funny when I was 10. And Tanya thought I was funny when I was in the 10th grade. Numerous times. And a lot of y'all seem to think I'm funny, but I don't see myself that way. I think the only times I ever really felt, the times I really felt it was when I was with someone and I saw that what I had said made them laugh. I got to physically see that. Those were the times that I felt funny. As it is here, I'm sitting alone in my room and I don't see anybody. But if you tell me you like it and if you think it's funny, that's good enough for me too. That's awesome. I never thought that this thing that I started as a hobby would end up affecting so many people all over the world. It is incredible. It's amazing. And even if you don't think I'm funny, maybe you still like to come here to relax or just to have something in the background while you study or work on something or whatever. I'm just glad you're here enjoying this hobby that I started 5.5 years ago. because I really needed something for me that I could do, and it's been an amazing trip. It really has. I can't wait to see where it goes and what these characters of mine decide to do next, because your guess is as good as mine. But yeah, enjoy humor where you can find it. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I think it's wonderful. And yeah, take time out of your day every day to find something that gives you joy, even if it doesn't make you laugh. If you can find something that makes you smile, that's good too. And I thank you so much for being here. I thank you for watching. I don't really know if I answered the question or fulfilled the request, but it's kind of a hard topic to talk about, because I don't really know. I've never studied humor, so that's about all I know to say about it. But thank you again for being here. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.